Hello everyone, welcome. We are right now doing a webinar with Shri G. Ashok Kumar. He is the Additional Secretary and MD of National Water Mission, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Department of Water Resources, Government of India. Welcome Ashok Ji. Thanks for joining here. Yeah. And I am Ravi Gupta. I am founder and CEO of Illets Technomedia Private Limited. And we have been publishing a magazine called eGov, a magazine called eHealth, and a magazine called Digital Learning for past 15 years now. And we have been bringing out a magazine called Banking and Finance for last 7 years. And today, our discussion is around the lessons we have learned from the HIV, like how the country handled HIV, and what are the lessons we can learn from the HIV experience. And when HIV had come, it was a big health issue, a big health challenge globally and also in India. And our speaker, Mr. G. Ashok Kumar, was at that time the project director of Andhra Pradesh AIDS Control Society. And there is a success story here that how that health disaster called HIV was handled. And at that time, there was a huge, fear among the people regarding this disease. And government took some exemplary steps to handle it. So we have with us Shri G. Ashok Kumar to talk about the Be Bold campaign which he led in Andhra Pradesh, and how that campaign saved people from HIV and what are the lessons. So welcome Ashok Ji, again thanks for joining here, and welcome all the audience who have joined us on the Zoom and also on the Facebook. So Ashok Ji, welcome, and if you can briefly talk about your journey in this IS services and what all the positions you have handled earlier, so that our audience has a brief idea about our speaker of the day. So your audio is off. If you can switch on your audio.
Hello, can you hear me
yes,
now?
Yes.
I am Ashok Kumar. I belong to the 91 batch of the IAS from the Telangana cadre. Okay, I am now presently Additional Secretary in the Ministry of That's a brief introduction about me. Welcome everybody to this webinar. I thank Dr. Ravi Gupta and Sangamitra team of the Illets Technomedia for organizing this webinar, and the participants who have joined this webinar. It's a very relevant contemporary topic. We are learning from what we did in the past and trying to apply it to the present situation. It's basically like learning from the history and see whether that can be made applicable here. I'm sure most of these people who have joined this webinar would be public health experts or have some similar experiences in the working in situations like this. What we are attempting to do here is to share, as I said, the experience of a very successful campaign which we did somewhere in 2008, 6 to 8 period, almost 10 years back, 12 years back, in response to a similar public health situation, and try to pick up some learning lessons and apply it to the present context. Let me set the context. What I would like to do would be a small introduction on the HIV virus, which is the one which we are talking about, HIV and COVID, and what the similarities and the differences between these two cases, because these are two different things, but we are trying to find out what the similarity and differences in that, and tell about the Ebola campaign which we did, and finally try to come to a conclusion on what are the things which can learn from them. So this would be maybe about 30-35 minutes, and then we'll be open for questions. Is that all right, Ravi?
Yes, yes. I will suggest if you can make your presentation a bit faster, like saying like 20 minutes, so
Okay,
that
fine.
more questions we can take from the audience.
I think the present hot topic is the COVID-19 pandemic. Every TV channel, every newspaper, every media is now talking about the COVID-19 pandemic in the world. The number of cases today crossed about 5.4 million, with about 343,000 deaths, affecting about 216 countries, of which 2.4 million are somewhere in America, and 2.04 million in Europe, and about 83,000 in Africa. The first case started in Wuhan in December 2019, and in just 4 to 5 months, it touched 5.4 million cases. It's such a fast progression. In India, the first case came here in 30th January 2020, and it has now crossed 1.5 lakh cases. 1,51,767 cases to be precise, and about 4,337 deaths. Out of which, out of the 1.5 lakh cases, 64,000 people have recovered, and there's about 83,000 active cases today. COVID, this disease is spreads through droplets from nose or mouth. These are basic things. Or infected, or from infected surfaces or fomites. It came in so sudden that the world has locked itself out and causing tremendous economic strain. Now, HIV, the other virus which we are comparing, is a virus transmitted through contact with infected blood, semen, or body fluids. It suppresses the immunity, and the person generally is affected to the opportunity infections he gets because of the suppressed immunity. No cure exists for AIDS as of now, though ARVs can reduce the progression of the disease. It's a very debilitating disease. It attacks the very cells which fights the infection, the immunity, which fights the infection of the disease. It's over 40 years now, because the first case came in 1980. And it still infects about 1.5 million people every year. The statistics says that about 379 lakh people are living with HIV in the world today. It came to India in 1986. That's the first case came in 1980, and it came to India in 1986, about 6 years gap. Whereas in the COVID, it came in 2-3 months' time. And the prevalence in India was about 0.22% in 2017. That's the basic statistics of the HIV. Now let's come back to the similarities and the differences between two viruses. Both are RNA viruses. One is a retrovirus from the retrovirus family. Another is from the corona family. Both of them have mysterious origin. Both come from reportedly come from animals. One from HIV from the rhesus monkeys, and corona from the bats. And also there is a controversy whether it is bio-generated or from lab-generated. Both shook the world. One shook slowly and steadily, and other shook very violently, and it's like a tsunami. Both have very high infectivity, and both affect the health professionals. Because of this nature of the virus, to fight both these viruses, the world have come together. There is very high stigma attached to both. in HIV, the cases in HIV, it's basically because of the ethical issues, because the spread is due to probably high risk behavior. And that's why the stigma is attached to that more onto the way of transmission, way one gets it. And also the death is also very bad. It's a wasting disease, so people die a very slow death, but looks very, very horrifying to see an patient. Whereas in the COVID-19 case, the stigma is due to the fear of spread, contacting it, and basically both of them have a fear of unknown. That is the stigma associated with. Both of them do not have vaccine as yet. Very complicated test procedures earlier. HIV also have a 3-month window period, and in that period, if you test it, you will not get it after 3 months after the risk behavior. And COVID, it takes about 40 to 28 days of window period. So these are some of the similarities, but then we will come to the differences. HIV replicates fast, virus replicates very fast, and it affects the T lymphocyte cells, whereas COVID-19 is not known to affect the immunity T lymphocytes. Route of transmission, as I said, both are different. One is very clearly route of transmission, high risk behavior, whereas COVID-19, anybody can get it who comes to contact to droplets of mites. Once positive, HIV positive person remains positive throughout his life, whereas COVID, if you are a COVID-19 positive, you can go back to negative if you get proper treatment. As I said, HIV affects people with high risk behavior, whereas in COVID-19, everybody has equal risk, and is also known as a passport disease because it used to come to people who are having passport who move to flights from one country to another country. HIV affected mainly youth because that's the age where the sexually active period, and here everyone is equally get infected. Areas affected was also very interestingly different. The Africa and other parts used to be very badly affected with HIV, but suddenly Africa is not much affected with COVID as of now. America, Europe, and Africa are actually now affected more. Then the spread, as I said, HIV spread very slowly, whereas COVID came like a tsunami, and it has really affected the economy of the world. There's no herd immunity concept probably in HIV, whereas there is a theory of a herd immunity available for the COVID-19. As I said, stigma is also different. One is due to ethical issue, another is due to spread. Both have affected their behaviors in a different way. HIV affected the sexual behavior of the people and use condoms and other things. Sexual distancing has come inside, whereas COVID has brought in social changes in social behavior, face masks, and social distancing. These are the some of the things of differences and similarities. But I try to learn from the responses we gave to two of this to the HIV in 2008, and then see whether how it can be applicable to it. The principles.
Some connectivity issue here. Let's wait for our speaker to connect.
Maybe, and I come with a presentation now. This Be Bold campaign. Can I share the screen?
Yes, yes, please.
See, I would thank the then Chief Minister of the State, Ms. Dr. Y.S. Rajshekar Reddy, who was one of the pillars support for this movement, and also my Principal Secretary, Mr. P.K. Agarwal, who was again very supportive of that. We also had he took the Be Bold campaign on a foundation led by my predecessor. Damayanti was my predecessor. She and under the guidance of Dr. I.V. Subbarao, was principal secretary here, they started a campaign called ASHA, and we built upon that. We also thank the NGOs associated with us, the DMGF, HLFPPT, CPC, Globalists, and then AP Positive networks of network of positivity, CHAI, and a lot of doctors who were associated with us in that time, Dr. P.L.N. Prasad, Dr. G.V.S. Prasad, Dr. Bindu, Dr. Ramakrishna, and then the people who helped us in the campaign during time, Padmavati and Ravi and all these things. So basically, the Be Bold theme is be bold to face the reality and come out of the denial mode. General reaction to any of these things, anything when you confront anything, is denial. So the first and foremost lesson of the Be Bold is we have to be bold to face it. So let us come out of the denial mode to face it. So I'll go through the presentation very fast. First, Be Bold campaign was an innovative campaign, successful campaign ran by AP SACTIS, AP Andhra Pradesh State AIDS Control Society in 2006-2008 to reduce the incidence of HIV, AIDS, and stigma associated with it in the then state of Andhra Pradesh. I use the word then state of Andhra Pradesh because now we have two states, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So at that time it was a combined state. So this is the picture of the HIV prevalence. You see, the red area is more than 2%, 13 districts were involved, and 9 districts were in the 1 to 2% range, and less than 1% was only one district. That was in 2005, and presently it is Telangana is 0.7% and Andhra is 0.63%. So there is a very drastic reduction in the period, and this is primarily due to the campaign which we did in the campaign. The concept and the contents of the Be Bold campaign. The campaign was aimed to fight stigma discrimination. That's the first important point which we are trying to say, to fight stigma discrimination and to mainstream the fight, to translate awareness to behavior change, and to get more people with this behavior tested to know their HIV status. This was the aim of the campaign. The 4 pillars which we used in the campaign was testing, tracking and tracing, then treatment and stigma reduction. The subcomponents of the stigma reduction was mainstreaming, because of the nature of the disease, everybody used to disown it. We tried to bring in all the departments of the government to it, all the society to it to find it. So that's what the first thing, stigma reduction we did, was to mainstream the fight. And it also tried to bring in the behavioral change, make more responsible behavior and positive messaging. This was very essential for stigma reduction, because we did not pass any value judgment on the way a person behave, and it had targeted and general messages. Because what happens when you try to give a messaging of taking judgmental values, people tend to either defend or become away from it. So we made no judgmental value judgment about the behavior, and that's exactly what the UNAIDS and UN organizations say about that. It should be a rights-based response. So this is some of the messages which we had. Be bold to talk about HIV/AIDS, because that itself was a major thing. People talk about COVID without any problem with their children, with their wife, with their parents, all discuss about COVID. But HIV, people used to very, very shy to discuss those issues. HIV/AIDS was one of the it was not a very, very palatable topic for this discussion. He said, be bold to talk about HIV, be bold to know your HIV status, be bold to get tested and accept the results, to change the lifestyle accordingly. If you are tested positive, don't be upset with it. You have to change your lifestyle accordingly. If you are negative, continue your HIV negativity. So that's what, that means avoid risk behavior. This is the toll-free number we had, 1097, to call and clear the doubts. Go fast. So these are the messages. Families to be bold to take care of HIV positive members. These are targeted messages meant for every section of the people. Society, I said mainstreaming. Doctors to be bold to treat HIV patients. There was a time when doctors refused to touch or come near the HIV patients. So that's where doctors be bold to treat HIV positive patients. Teachers be bold to admit HIV positive students. We have seen many cases where school used to send out the HIV positive children and give refuse admission to those children who are positive. Youth be bold to accept HIV positive peers as friends. Youth be bold to say negative, no to say negative peer pressure. Because when anything happens due to risk behavior, and this is what they say, youth should be bold to say no. Women be bold to say no sex without condoms, because condom promotion was one of the major activity we did at that time. I mean, something it can go on. So girls be bold to ask for HIV status of the group before marriage. It can be anything. So there were so many games. I only put in some of these things, etc. And Ebola is the message. HIV test is the medium. That's what we said. Why HIV test? No test would normalize the HIV test, because I mean, if you are very here and far and here and you do some tests, people will get affected by it. If you become very normal, it will become a routine normal test. Reduce stigma associated with the HIV test. The test itself had stigma, so that had to be addressed. And this test will help you to identify more HIV positive people, so that they get early treatment, and also you can ask them to behave inadvertent spread by them. That is one of the very key elements. When we tested more, we identified more positive people and tried to counsel them to behave more responsibly, not to spread the virus. It also gave a better disease load estimation and helps better planning and allocation of resources. That's why we required more HIV tests. It was a campaign for all ages because it affected all the people. 0/7 initiative for the newly born kids, because there was transmission from mother to child. One of the modes of transmission was from positive mother to the newly born child during labor and delivery time. So that's 0/7 is an interesting name. 0 positive deliveries or 0 positive births by end of 2007. That is a 0/7. As a subcomponent of the VBOL, we also had adolescent education talking to the students of the colleges, red ribbon clubs in every schools we started, under promotion and target intervention for adults, female sex workers and all, where we pushed it, this type of promotion. Care and support for all and ART, antiretroviral therapy treatment for those infected and affected. It covered all the people. I'll tell you what are the sub-initiatives there. One is the 0/7 initiative, is to have 0 HIV positive child to be born in Andhra Pradesh by setting up national systems to achieve it by December of 2007. That is the 0/7. A brave new concept, trying to ensure that the AIDS-free next generation, that the children at the time of birth, still they should not have this positive HIV positive. A concept is that all HIV positive women to be tracked down and ensure that 100% delivery is done, nevirapine administration is done, and care for babies for 18 months. This we took upon the responsibility by the APSACs and the networks. Before we actually started the campaign, we had mainstreamed the HIV department, because this was considered as a separate department and nobody used to touch it. Even the department had a stigma associated with it. So first we said that that's where I thank the Chief Minister, who himself was a doctor, was very concerned about it, because Andhra was one of the highest states with highest prevalence in the country, and was very, very concerned about it. So he said that whatever you suggest, we will do it. So that's why we said that, sir, we should have a mainstreaming of the departments, and we formed a committee with Chief Minister as chairman, and we had Chief Secretary, DG of Police, secretaries of 16 departments, representative positive networks, donor agencies, prominent NGOs as members. That was the first level of integration. Then this is the first time such a committee was formed in the country, and we held meetings on 27th November and 7th January 2008. That's how the CM, how we showed importance to that. We had a steering committee under this committee headed by CM, headed by the Chief Secretary. That also held regular meetings, and many decisions on streamline was taken. So I just said, with the medical department, this was considered as a separate wing. Nobody used to be posted there. So I changed the designation of the district leprosy officer to additional DMHO. Additional DMHO is generally handles so many verticals in the health department. So the name or designation of this officer who was handling HIV was changed to additional DMHO, AIDS and leprosy, which means that they become all the other additional DMHO. They look sound similar. This resulted in integrating HIV prevention programs with other programs of the medical department. a very innovative step, but made a lot of impact. This also helped to train HIV, 8,000 HIV trained ASHA workers in HIV/AIDS, gave more medical and health care to infected persons, and a formidable presence of the state AIDS control society in the district, because otherwise they were never considered as a part of the health program in the district. So this once being they are designated as children mature, they all automatically got into this system. And we also had a legislative forum formed with the members of state MLA, that assembly, and legislative council, and a meeting was held. This is to integrate the political people also into the. We had a meeting of mayors of all the towns somewhere in 2007. Education department, almost 15,000 red ribbon clubs were formed in colleges. That's the +2 people who are the adolescent people. The red ribbon clubs were formed to form them or increase awareness about the HIV. And adolescent education program was completed in all schools by 2007. 1 week program was taken up in 2007. Because truck drivers was one of the general carriers of this disease. Truck drivers was associated at that time. So we made them that for every driving licenses renewal and all, questions on HIV made compulsory for the driving test renewals. And the campaign, coming to the campaign, so fast. It started on 1st December 2006, World AIDS Day. Everybody with the risk behavior was encouraged to get tested. But to make them actually risk behavior people to test was difficult. So what we did was we test questionnaire like this in all the newspapers attached to it, and asked them to answer some of the questions like this. Some are good questions pertaining to HIV, some are general questions. So if we said that you answer this question, and if you have answers to 3, 4, 8 and all which are risk behavior pattern, please go for test. So it's basically like to destigmatize the testing part of it, and people who did this test, many of them could come for the VCTC, where is the Voluntary Counseling and Testing Center, and we made HIV testing compulsory for all pregnant ladies unless opted out. That's an opt-in. Normally it used to be opt-in technology procedure. Now it became unless you opt out, all will be tested. So that's where to increase the testing center. This is a CM endorsing the WeBowl campaign, and for improving the test, you have to increase the testing centers. We increased it from 200 to 186 to 677. Then all PSCs were its testing centers. Private medical colleges were taken part of it. The ART centers increased from 3 to 23 in all the 23 districts. And in all these centers, required number of skilled people were recruited, trained, and positioned with kits. So that's how we facilitated the increase in testing. This is the number of testing centers earlier, and during the campaign. After the campaign, it looked like this. So all over the state, we had full centers for testing. And this is the inspiring WeBowl campaign. Testing was stigma. So I requested Honorable Chief Minister to come forward for publicly testing. He volunteered, and he himself was very bold enough to come and test in public. That was one thing which triggered off a huge tsunami of tests for us. So he himself tested for the HIV, and this is the again he persuaded the Speaker of the Assembly, Mr. C. Suresh Reddy, to come forward to test. He also tested, and afterwards, 80 MLAs came forward to test, because once the CM and ministers tested, all of them started to undergo tests, and they underwent the test, and that really destigmatized the test, because these people, big people who are the leaders, they came forward to test. Then test became a routine thing. So number of tests started increasingly. We also brought in celebrities to come for tests. This is our Minister of the State in Union Government, Pinnapark Lakshmi. She also tested publicly for HIV. Then this our Jackie Shroff heroes. This WeBowl, Be Hero, a test drive was done, and this is we tried to inclusive. It was an inclusive campaign. The publicity materials were made in all languages. This is a book in Braille. For the blind people, we made a booklet in IEC material in Braille. And this DG was Mrs. Sujata Rao, was the DG of NACO at that time. one of the very solid support for the whole campaign. She released his book. So again, great support from the Salman and NACO at that time. We built capacity of doctors and staff. We gave hands-on training to doctors instead of this handout training, because we said that you should go to the hospital and test the people. More than 2,000 people were tested, and the CDC and Clinton Foundation supported training. And this helped to reduce the stigma among the medical practitioners. One very interesting initiative we took was the formation of Bold Doctors Club. Many doctors were very reluctant to treat initially. So we said, and the HIV positive people were getting infection, as I said, because of the opportunity infections they get. Because then they could not go to any doctors, because they once the doctors come to know they are positive, they used to treat them very differently. So it was very difficult for them to go for treatment also. We formed this Bold Doctors Club, where doctors who are bold enough and have trained to treat HIV positive people, their names were they were formed into a club, and their names and phone numbers were published and circulated to the HIV positive people. So they could go without any sankoch ke saath, they can, without any reluctance, they can go and meet those people, and they used to get treated, and that improved the health of the people. And the doctors were given PPE kits for HIV positive deliveries, and the prophylaxis supplied to doctors from SAC side. They didn't have any problem. And we also gave awards to the old doctors. So this is the Honorable CM himself giving awards to the doctors who done the maximum number of positive deliveries, also who have been are treating in various for treating HIV positive people, various diseases. This is a 0/7 initiative, I said. Outreach workers. This is where we had the very close tracking, because people used to, the ladies used to know that they are positive when they were tested in the ANC for the 3rd month of pregnancy. As I said, this was an opt-out strategy was used, so everybody used to get tested. And the HIV positive pregnant women, they used to get very badly affected once they were told that they are positive. So we counseled them, we used to track them, and till their delivery is done. They used to move from their husband's house to their own house. There also we tracked them, because this positive network of people used to be there. So their details were transferred to their MICA. They used to go there. There used to be followed up. They used to be counseled. They used to take care of the institutional delivery and administer Nevirapine. So nearly about, you remember, look at the figure, out of 6 lakh pregnant women, 7,000 people were found positive. And out of that, nearly 5,000 were given mother baby were given the Nevirapine. And that's about 98.5 live deliveries had this Nevirapine administered. And we also organized something to boost their into by organizing well baby shoes for their mothers. There's a program in every towns in the rural areas. There's a Seemandam program where 7th month of the pregnancy, ladies done some puja and all of them. That some of the people were refusing because it was of HIV positive, identified as HIV positive. So SACS took the responsibility of doing this, organizing this Seemandam for them. So we try to take care of their emotional needs as well as their support during the period of pregnancy. This is the picture of the well baby show, where they used to bring the children. All the ladies who see this picture are positive, except one foreigner is there. She's from one of the donor organizations. Otherwise, all the people are positive with their children coming for a well baby show. And see this. This is statistics. Look at the number of people who got tested during the campaign, and number of people who were given Nevirapine. It's 2006 and 2007 figures, how it increased drastically during the campaign. And very intensive IEC activities. We had 2 cartoon characters called Ashanna and Ashaka. They take off from the word Asha. Asha means hope. So many of the HIV positive people had lost hope. We said Asha and Ashaka, a middle-aged person who is still active in sex and who can actually advise people on best practices. We design new posters. We do media gunny bags, barbers to be tell them about the new system of barbers, when they cut their hair, they can really talk to people. So we use them as one of the agents for communicating our messages. Best tickets, stylists, theaters, hoardings, good Mediterranean. All new media were tried out to spread the message. Traditional dance in Kuchipudi also, we tried to make a HIV dance out of it. From TV series, we sponsored many TV serials and ourselves made many TV serials. One TV serial ran for about 51 weeks on HIV. FM radio, we had cricket cup, beach volleyball, IEC metals, even in trial. Monthly newsletter started and networks of PLHS formed, and they were the one who is also helping us in spreading the message. This is a very interesting thing. On December 7, 2006, we had about 3,800 HIV positive people coming, conglomerating at one place in Hyderabad. From all districts, we brought them. All these people you see are positive people and the children, positive HIV children. And the person who is taking the oath is the president of the Andhra Pradesh Positive People's Association, Ramesh. And this is, we had signed a Hyderabad declaration, and they promised that they will behave responsibly and they will not let the virus spread. And they also asked us, the government, to support what is to be done for them. That's an agreement which we signed. This is together we make a better world. Declaration, Hyderabad declaration was done. This is the next year in 2007, emboldened by that big meet. Next time we had 8,000 positive people coming, and this probably is a watershed event. 8,000 positive people coming together, and they see each other. The entire stigma melted away. They said, enough of it. We are, there are so many people like us. We are willing to take the treatment. We are no longer afraid, or we are not stigmatized. And that really, these two events actually triggered off a major improvement in the treatment and cases. All of the people you see here are HIV positive people who came from districts. And they had a very wonderful time. The whole day we gave this hall for them, for their dance, they sang songs, and then two of them got married also. In fact, we started a matrimony also for HIV positive people, because some of their husbands had died, some of their wives had died. We said, okay, you have matrimony and get married. So, because it's a matter of partnership and comfort in life. So this is one thing which we did. This is touted as one of the, not one, as the largest gathering of positive people in the world. You can still see in the UNAIDS website. So our CM, again, as I said, and the speaker, they were very, very proactive in this, because we had a joint session of the Assembly and the Council. Probably this is the first time MLAs and Council in any part of the country meeting together in the hall for discussing about a disease. So this is, you see, the CM speaking in that house, and you have the speaker on the left side of the CM and the chairman of the council on the right side of the CM. And you have people representing from UNAIDS all in this on the stage. So we also try to make attractive ART centers for children as part of the 0/7 initiative, child pediatrics. So these are one of the ART centers. Beautiful paintings were done with the help of CDC. We also had developed a lot of care and support centers. This is some of the centers which we started for the special care of these HIV patients. This is adolescent education program. I'll go fast. Almost every school we had these sessions in 2007, and then we reached out to about 1 million students in schools with the HIV awareness program. In fact, when I went to Chicago and made a presentation, they were really surprised. Said, you people can talk to this about HIV to the children. I said, yes, we spoke to 1.6 billion students, and we had a booklet also for them. About 2 million booklets we distributed to students. 25,000 teachers were trained. Question boxes and counseling used to clear doubts of sexuality and adolescence. And I said, about 50,000 red ribbon clubs were formed. Other initiatives of Be Bold, because it's a wide spectrum. We had improving the conditions of sex workers. We had issues associated with males having sex with males. We had associated with issues associated with drug abusers, blood banks, opportunity infections, pediatric and childhood, STD infections. All these things were dealt in that in the people campaign, and promotion of condoms and safe sex, HIV, TB linkages, livelihood issues. So many things were done. I'm not going to that details because that's specific to the disease and the results. See the results. You can see during the campaign period about 18 lakhs testing were done. 18 lakh tests were done during the previous period, and you can see the previous years 4 lakh, 5 lakh tests were done. If you look at the 2 years, if you see there nearly 24 lakh tests were done in 2006, 7 and 7, 8 compared to 5 lakhs the previous year. There's a tremendous increase in testing and the number of that brought out a lot of positive people, and the other statistics are there. But I was more interested to show you this statistic. This is the because of the campaign, our calls to our call center went very high, from about 192,000 in May 2008, went about 8,000 calls per month to our call centers because of the campaign we started. This is the people who are on ART, decreased from 2,000 to 25,000 during the campaign period. And this is the overall prevalence, as I said, it has come down from 2% to 0.88, and it has even come down about 0.6, as I said, in the period. So there's tremendous reduction of HIV, and this is a letter from UNAIDS telling that this is one of the best campaigns in the world, and the invite which the AIDS Society of India, of International AIDS Society, had asked me to come and make a presentation in Mexico. I was fortunate enough to AIDS conference in 2008 in Mexico and make the presentation. And I was very surprised to hear from some of the people who came from Africa. They said, "Sir, we have seen same people campaign there because many people from the international conference picked up our CDs and they replicated in Africa." So I was very surprising. One of my friend who came from Ghana said that, "Sir, I saw the same poster and the same type of messaging there, and it's very, very successfully followed in Africa." Well and good, very nice of them. And I'll come to it. The success of the people campaign on two more slides. It would significantly reduce stigma and discrimination associated. It mainstreamed the fight against HIV. It improved uptake and delivery of health, and reduced incidents, sufferings, and death associated with HIV significantly. Now, how can this campaign be used to learn in the COVID fight? The first lesson, as I said, is to be bold, to come out of the denial mode, and to accept the reality. Many countries and states, are not testing enough to know that, because they said it's like the cat closing its eyes. The boldness has to come in facing the challenge and accept it, the reality, and do adequate testing. Be bold to take informed decisions based on that. Our lockdown is one very informed decision taken. And those are very tough decisions, but be bold to take those decisions. Be bold to ensure its strict implementation and follow the 4 pillars of the campaign: testing, tracking, tracing, treating, and stigma reduction. Testing has to be increased significantly. That's one lesson from the Be Bold campaign. For this, tests have to be simple and accurate. No testing centers to be open. Just have to be destigmatized. Patient-friendly setup in rooms. Because now I had gone for a testing. I was leading a COVID team to Surat. I went for a testing to a testing center and tested myself. It is so very, very, very frightful atmosphere is there in the testing center. It's all with the masks and all these things and coming and taking necessarily. So that make it more friendly. Confidentiality in the test is to be maintained. That was there in the Be Bold campaign, but not in the present here. Counseling was very important part of the Be Bold campaign and a response to and it was a response to the HIV world over. But sadly, that's not seen in response of COVID-19. You publish the name of the person, you put a poster outside his house. It's very, very stigmatizing. So I'm probably threatening. So I don't know. We have to look at that. But then making people themselves responsible and to behave more responsibly would have been better. And then mainly probably due to the mode of transmission and ethical reasons, privacy of people was of importance in Be Bold campaign. So we did not publish the name of the person in all over the newspaper. But whereas I found that quarantine posters, as I said before, on the house of the route map published in newspaper. In one of the states, they were publishing the route maps, the newspaper. This is the person tested positive. He had gone to these such places whom you have seen whom he has met, all these things come in newspaper, and the privacy issue was not there. So in the People campaign, we had that privacy very focused on that, and people also made. And in the People campaign experience, another one is to support the whole doctors and paramedics with information, infrastructure, and PPE. Supported that, create special health centers. Now COVID care centers are there. He also did at that time mainstream the fight. Now everybody is involved, and positive messaging, very important, innovative, informative, countering and clearing the myths, and that type of messages should come, because so many messages, WhatsApp University to so many messages, we should be very clear in giving the right messages and promote those which are not spreading panic, fear and stigma. That is to be done. And promote social behavior change, social distancing, personal protections, mask and hand wash, and that's it. This is what we did in the People campaign, and this is what we could learn from the for the COVID fight. So and we are on the right track. Probably we can pick up something from the People campaign. Thanks, thanks, Ravi, for this waiting for this presentation to be over. Thank you.
Kudos to you. Excellent presentation you have given. And it's amazing to see that how a deadly disease like HIV got controlled at that point of time. And you have mentioned some of the lessons and in your last slides. If you can elaborate about it a bit in the present context.
Basically, the last four slides, it was there.
Yes. I know. But like if you can give a summary of it, like without the slides, if you talk about it. Yeah.
First thing we said that the testing is one very important thing. I know. First, to start off with the denial, come out of the denial mode. Many states are not willing to test it. So that is one thing we should do. Second is there are issues with testing. There are I know still the test kits issues are there, but then try to increase more testing. And some states have very low testing, and that has to probably improve. And then for that, testing centers have to be open, just have to destigmatize. And one very important thing is about the privacy and the counseling part. Because as of now, no counseling is done to the person who is tested, because test results come much later. So when they, first of all, they go through a lot of emotional stress when they sit in that room with all sort of people, their mask and that space suit sort of
there is a stigma, like
that is the stigma actually. That is stigma, and your results come 2 days later, and then there's nobody to counsel you, and you don't hope that the things will be negative. But when you get a negative result, you don't know what to do, who to ask, and suddenly the neighbors will ask one very funny. They throw you out of the house. Colony people not let you in. All these things the world seem to come along you today. And incidentally, this disease, India has a very high recovery rate. So there's no need to be panicky about it, because it is not like HIV, where HIV once you're positive, throughout your life positive. So this counseling is very important for. We should look at that, and the privacy issue, as I said. Because we are going to publish your, if you are tested positive and if your route map is coming in the newspaper, who will go for testing? You visited that place, this house. And this is a very attack on the human rights, actually. I mean, we should counsel them, make them behave responsibly, and that would be the best thing. That's what I feel.
In your state example of the Andhra Pradesh, you mentioned about the involvement of the Chief Minister, who was very supportive. And how does that make a difference?
It makes a lot of difference. He was a very popular leader, and he coming forward to test was one very significant part in the campaign. Not only he came, he called his cabinet ministers, he called his assembly speaker and all to come and test publicly. That really melted away the fear. And otherwise, they used to think it's only for the poor people, or it's meant for people with risk behavior. This is basically try to destigmatize the testing And once when your leader does it, everybody who are the big followers, they also start coming. And we had such a tough time. NACO had to divert the testing kits from other states to our place to the surge in demand. As I said, 5 lakh tests and 25 lakh tests. See, where's the difference? We had such a large number of testing coming up, and other states where tests were not going on had to send to us. That leadership, and whenever he used to have any problem, he used to lead from the front. Whether he's talking to the DGP of police about the harassment of female sex workers by the police, he used to tell him, he used to tell DGP, and he said, okay, we should not harass the people. We had the concept of clean workers who to carry condoms. Because it promotes safer sex. We used to talk to them, and he used to immediately talk up to the DGP and said that, no, you tell Inspector SPs not to do that. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised. DGP was also very supportive at that time. He had instructed all the SPs to have tea with link workers, commercial sex workers who are link workers who used to supply condom to the people. He used to have, on 7th of December, I remember, they asked all the SPs to have tea with them. 5 or 6 link workers. Can you imagine a street sex worker or leaders of sex workers sitting with the SP or the district and having tea? It was a positive messaging, and he insisted that drivers are one source of infection, so the truck drivers. He told the driving department to add compulsory questions in the driving license test. The schools were asked to donate or spare 1 week time to talk about HIV in the class, and the booklets which he gave us actually put a part of the curriculum. These are all done because of the leadership he gave. We could give suggestions to him, and he said that is done. And he himself, being a doctor, was very helpful for us.
Very nice. And were there any international agencies involved to help you?
No, that's what I told you. In starting itself, I told a lot of NGOs were there. The EMGF was there. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was involved. They are all funding agencies, basically, but the work has to be done by the staff of the SACS, and we used to get the involvement of the network of HIV positive network people and the doctors of the states. They got involved. See, we used to self-help groups also of the women. They got involved. We had CDC supporting us. Part of the programs were supported by different agencies. Foundation, I said, CDC. Then we had Share India. We had Global Fund coming and supporting some funding. Then we had UNAIDS. Many agencies had come.
And how was the experience of AP different from other states in this campaign?
This was a local campaign. This was never done. And if you look at it, many of the things which we did was taken up by NACO, because this is all innovative campaigns we did. That was every district AIDS Control Society we formed after we formed that society, because we formed mainstreaming was being discussed, but we implemented it. The massive testing was actually initiated, but they were picked up by NACO. Many of the things which NACO followed for the national guidelines were done in experimental research, and they also found that whatever they wanted to experiment, they put it in Andhra Pradesh, because such a team was working, and we had a wonderful team working with us. And many of the states followed our later on.
Okay. And was there any different approaches adopted by the other states, or like they followed the AP?
Andhra was one of the highest state with one of the highest incidents. So basically, others were, if you look at, there are much lesser incidents. And we had, I didn't get to do that presentation. Why is it high and all this? Because a lot of truck roads, main national highways go through Andhra Pradesh for a movement of people, and those things were there. So I didn't get into those people presentation as such. I only brought them, which was actually relevant to the topics.
Yes. So, what's your message in this COVID situation to all the health workers, all the?
My message is: be bold. Be bold. You don't run away from the thing. Be bold. Face it, and you also give strength to the people who are infected. If you tell them it's not, the person is not going to. mortality is much less earlier. Try to develop immunity, and there are good messages which the COVID has given us. Let us not have this more concept. Everything is more in this world now. Want more money, more people, more everything, more. Probably COVID has put us a break in that. More concept has come down. So let us be happy with what we have. Let us not try to have shadiyan hote hain, kitne log aate hain, more than Maria. That has now come down. So probably in a way it is good that the COVID has lessened our pace. Many of the rivers are get cleaner now because of less pollution. I don't know.
Sure. And after your project was over, did the HIV cases come again? Like
No. It has come down. As I said, now it's only 0.7%. It has really come down. There are a lot of people. See, the problem with HIV is that once you're positive, you continue to live with that. And and see, if we let them loose, they can spread it to more people. That's where the campaign making them to behave responsibly as Polly was very important. And to their credit, all of them had behaved very responsibly. Otherwise, this spread more. So that is where that is what it happened.
and you also mentioned that HIV efforts were integrated with the mainstream health departments.
Not only health department, all department, health, education, police, then women and child welfare. 12 or 16 departments we had integrated with them. So, I mean, because many things were associated with, livelihood programs were associated, truck drivers, that's where you have motor vehicle department, police department, sex workers, rehabilitation of people, women and child welfare department, then TB, very close associated with TB. So almost youth department, because we are talking to the youth of the country, and we had the education department, schools department, like that. Many departments were involved in the campaign.
So you have talked about mainstreaming that campaign. You have mainstreamed it. Any lessons for the COVID in terms of mainstreaming it?
But it's also now it's mainstream. Police is there very much actively everywhere, and other departments. Now you look at so there are. See, the problem with COVID is that it is the mode of spreading is different. So you have to take the principles of the whole campaign and then apply it here. HIV did not cause this type of lockdown, whereas here we have a lockdown. I don't know whether that's a debatable point, but the lockdown affecting the economy, travel effect, all these were not there at that time. So as I said, there's a difference in the mode of transmission, mode of infection, and the principles we can learn from the campaign.
One of the discussions which people are saying is that our health infrastructure.
Because just 1 second, because positive prevention is one of the
Yes.
positive prevention. That's what we could do with this campaign, the whole campaign. Positive prevention. See,
Yes.
we were running away from negativity.
Yes. Thanks for highlighting that. And one of the things people are talking about, that the health infrastructure of India is not very strong to handle disease like COVID-19. So when you were dealing with HIV, watch where the people saying the same thing, that Indian health infrastructure is not strong enough to handle the COVID-19, the HIV situation in terms of the primary health care, secondary health care.
Actually, if you look at the spread, HIV spread actually comes from, it basically went to the high-risk behavior group and their families. If they have high-risk behavior and their families get affected, right? Whereas in the numbers, as I said, if you look at the statistics, we still have about 1.5 million people infected every day in the country, and about 37 million people living with HIV in the world. So numbers probably still the beginning. So numbers, the spread is very fast in COVID. So the requirement of hospital facilities are much more in COVID because you can have a sudden number of cases increase. That much of spurt in cases were not there in HIV. So probably would not have had so much of requirement of a large number of cases. As I said, HIV was a very slow debilitating disease, whereas this comes like a tsunami and hit you very, very hard. It's a very fast thing, but then it goes also very fast.
Yes.
You can be treated and cured in about a month time or something, and you are free. And you have probably immunity, a herd immunity concept, but that's not there in HIV. So it's a very debilitating disease, a slow disease, HIV. But then concept is again, you have to be able to face it. That is very important.
Yes. And did you use IT to handle HIV at that time?
And I remember Ravi Sikri was one of my IT person. He used extensively IT application because you look at that time is 2007, 2008. You don't have this type of network which we have now. But luckily for us, Andhra Pradesh was a leader in IT at that time. Used to have video conferences and then bandwidth available from all the places. Now, Hyderabad being a hub of IT, we had a lot of IT experts helping us. We used IT extensively. Data was analyzed. We had people like Ravi and all who used to do this analysis and then help us in getting the informed decision making. And the information flow from districts was very, very streamlined. Regular meetings used to happen. Used to have even Skype meetings and all. I think so. This type of things were there.
And if you talk about the behavior of citizens, how it is like different from HIV and COVID-19?
See, behavior of citizen, I don't get what do you mean by that?
Means that people were more scared in the times of HIV, or people are more scared in the times of COVID?
No, both are there. No? People are scared at that time also. You remember there was all your rumors going around that cinema theater, somebody is getting infecting people. But then the mode of transmission, since it had a very specific route of transmission, that much of fear was not there of the getting infected. But the death was much more very bad. The death of an HIV patient it's very, very pathetic because they get wasted away, they get the opportunity infections, their body gets very lean and thin. So that is a very bad death. I've seen many of the HIV patients. I've seen, as I said, a team leader of I've seen many COVID patients also. There's a lot of difference between in the nature of the patients, and many of them survive. So that hope is there in COVID patients, but hope was not there in HIV patients. And now IRT has come in. IRT has helped many people. Many of them are living, and doctors have now started treating them. Opportunity infections have come down. They are much more healthier and happier now.
There is a question by the audience. If you can see on the screen also. Please look at the last question. This is John Matthew. How can quantitative methods be used effectively to help in the so-called flattening of the curve in COVID? Has that helped in HIV contamination containment earlier? Any leverage in COVID?
We didn't have, as I said, the numbers were not going very fast as well as COVID. The speed. We have this mathematical modeling all in COVID and all because a lot of unknowns. And secondly, COVID is a very relatively new virus. It came in 2019 December, and we are in 15, and the number has gone up. Whereas, as I said before, the HIV came in 1980, it came to India in 1986. By the time a lot of knowledge had gained on the spread, on the way it is handled, and all these things. Even though disease vaccine had not come, has still not come, Lot of analytical tools have been developed at that time, and the spread is not a tsunami thing; it suddenly goes up. When you think when suddenly something hits on your face, you require also modeling. So modeling, we didn't do we didn't do much modeling, but that was also being done by Sentinel survey, obviously conducted based on the ANC results. So that is done by NACO. All these support was done by NACO. Analysis part of it, how the HIV TB co-infections happening, how many people from HIV is going to the TB center, TB getting patient effect. All these analysis and technical support was done by NACO. Very, very supportive team from NACO at that time under the leadership of Sujata Rao Madam. They gave us all the support. We were the field workers who really jumped into the field and tried to get the awareness right and try to see that it is properly contained. So these quantitative methods, we didn't use it. This flattening the curve concept, I don't know whether they're there in HIV, but here, I think there are, because very many models associated with it. I'm not really looking after COVID now, so I can tell you about water, not about COVID.
And right now, the Ministry of Health and the central government is playing a very critical role in handling the COVID-19 situation. When you were handling the HIV, did the Ministry of Health and the center have a as strong role as they have now?
Yes, because at that time there was a separate body called NACO, which is handling it. Now NACO has joined part of mainstream. NACO was a separate body headed by Additional Secretary General Officer. Chandra was there. So that time, here the same level of mainstreaming was being planned. And the administration at that time, the government of India at that time also was very keen on reducing this impact of HIV, because HIV was going to affect very badly in African states. They were very keen on that. Mainstreaming and all were tried at that time in the national level also. A lot of things happened, so we only try to push it in the state level. But in a state, what happens is these are much more closer control. CM would have a much better control over the other departments, and so this type of quick responses and could happen in the state. National level, it's a huge involved. Different states are involved, different departments, and also it was done. The guidelines we tried to follow from the national coordinated by NACO, and NACO did play a very, very major role in controlling.
Excellent. So I think hats off to you, Ashok Kumar ji, for amazing work which your department did under your leadership at that point of time in Andhra Pradesh. And we at ILETS are trying to create a awareness about the good work being done by several officers and several departments across this country through our platform ILETS, and we are using the facility of Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube Live to create that awareness. So Ashok Kumar ji, your suggestions and awareness. So
thanks a lot. Thanks team Sangamitra for initiating this, and thanks Dr. Ravi for making it happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashok Kumar ji, and thank you all the audience for joining here on this very, very interesting webinar. I think the ideas and lessons of HIV are very much relevant here in the COVID-19 situation. You all have seen this very interesting, detailed presentation by Mr. G. Ashok Kumar. And if you have liked this presentation, this interaction, please like and share this video on Facebook and YouTube, so that this reaches to a lot more people, and many more departments and officers get inspired to replicate this type of success story on handling a very challenging situation like HIV. So with this, thank you Ashok Kumar ji, and thank you all the audience. Namaskar. Thank you.